Welcome in to the Gaming Discourse. I'm Tyler Frater alongside Richard De La Cruz.
Hello.
And Chief Engineer Lieutenant Commander Connor Frater.
Hello.
It is Monday, May 16th, 2022. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at the Gaming Discourse. Go to our YouTube channel, YouTube/Gaming Discourse. Patreon/Gaming Discourse if you would like to support us. The names, you can get your name in the credits on a couple different tiers. And our commanders and captains just scrolled at the bottom of the screen a few seconds ago. Go check that out. We interviewed Mark Dara a couple weeks ago, former executive producer on Dragon Age Origins, Dragon Age 2, and Dragon Age Inquisition, worked at BioWare for 20 years. We talked about all kinds of stuff, learned a ton. If you're interested in video games, making video games, just in really video games in general, I'd highly recommend going to our channel or to our SoundCloud page, because I'm pretty sure it's still up, and giving it a listen. Latest video is a review of Iron Lung, which is a submarine horror game, and I'm working on a few new things right now. We've got news to get into. We're going to talk games. I'm going to go first. Okay. Because I have a couple things that I want to say, one of which I hinted before the show. So I want to play through God of War New Game Plus before Ragnarok comes out, right? Mm-hmm. Because I felt like a lot of stuff happened in the original God of War, and it was a good enough story that I wanted to go through and sort of remember it. And I don't feel like that with every game, but God of War definitely. So I went back and played it, and I told you guys that something is revealed at the end of God of War 2018, and it flew right over my head, and I felt really dumb because it's almost in line with watching Empire Strikes Back and not catching that Darth Vader is Luke's father. Like, it's like the whole point of the thing.
Jeez, spoiler alert.
And you completely miss it. So, at the end of God of War 2018, so spoiler alert if you haven't beat it.
We'll put a timestamp in.
Been 4 years.
Atreus is revealed to be Loki, okay? Now, here's my thought process. So when I first played through the game, I thought, okay, so that's interesting. So what they're doing is like, because Ragnarok is happening, Atreus is sort of a part of this prophecy brought into this world from Kratos, right? So it's like Kratos, there's sort of a higher power, and Kratos traveled to Midgard from a different realm, from the Greek realm, right? Mm-hmm. And Kratos himself is a part of this prophecy. He just didn't know it, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, that was wholly stupid because clearly, Loki is Odin's son. Loki, Faye and Odin were together. Faye is an ice giant. You learn at the end of the game because Loki's part ice giant. So Faye had Loki, Atreus. She runs away because Odin's, a douchebag. She meets Kratos. Kratos decides to raise Atreus as his son. She puts up the barrier around the house so that Odin and Thor and Balder and their whole family can never find Atreus. They're protecting Atreus, right, from his evil family or from his father's side, right? Mm-hmm. And of course, that completely changes a lot of the things that happen in the game once you realize that Kratos is not his blood father, right? So the story of, when you see because Kratos' father isn't Zeus. I don't know his backstory, right? But his father isn't Zeus, right?
Yes.
Is he? Okay. This stuff I completely forget. I don't know if he was like his representation or literal father. I don't remember. But anyway, there's the scene where,
I got to double check. Pretty certain.
Okay, I think you're right. I God of War 2018 was the first God of War game I ever played. But anyway, there's a scene where Atreus sees Kratos kill Zeus, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the idea was at the time, Kratos doesn't want Atreus to see that he killed his father,
his dad,
because he wants to foster a good relationship. But when you learn who Atreus is, it is not necessarily that he wants to foster a good relationship with Atreus. It's that he wants to show Atreus that there may be other ways of going about dealing with the problems with his father that he'll meet down the line, and not following in Kratos' footsteps, right? Mm-hmm. And it also makes it makes it makes it more significant when he calls him boy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because now that implies he does that specifically because that's what Atreus is. Like, Atreus isn't his son. Now, I don't know if there's a moment later on in the game if he calls him son. And if so, that would make that moment more important, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like Kratos is sort of accepting him as something else. But anyway, that entire thing,
Over your head?
Yeah, until yesterday. And I was like, oh, all that snapped into my head in like an instant. I was like, oh, okay, I'm a moron. I understand now. So, and that's why you play through New Game Pluses.
Yeah,
too.
right.
Two working synapses finally clicked.
Yeah. That's why you play through New Game Pluses, to catch major plot points that you completely missed. But
So real quick, just to tack onto that, one plot point that I missed recently is in Red Dead 2. They're outlaws. they like rob banks.
You're funny.
They're on the run for some reason.
Yeah.
You're funny. You're hilarious. I don't want to get into a sports radio brawl with you. You want to go? No.
Wrong Wolfer.
We don't name drop. So, anyway, so I'm playing through God of War. It's really good. New Game Plus is a lot of fun so far. You get the Blades of Chaos, so you don't have to unlock them later on. You get them.
Oh,
right
very
off the
cool.
bat.
You get them right off the bat.
Yeah. So all of your entire move set is there. Your armor is there, but it looks like there's some new things. There's like new armors. There's new talismans and new things. Not new in the sense that they are like new gameplay mechanics. It's just they're better.
Right.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
Atreus gets a new armor piece that like combines the benefits from two of the best armor pieces you can find for him, so you get real powerful stuff. And I also turned up the difficulty because you got to get that difficulty up. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Okay, my season in the show continues.
Mm-hmm.
I almost got a perfect game today until Rudenengo Dord decided to hit a leadoff double in the bottom of the ninth, so go to hell. But okay, I want to talk about the show's difficulty because it's really weird. So I have the show's difficulty on rookie, which is like, it's like, I don't know if that's normal. It's probably right below normal. And I'm keeping it there because it's a weird challenge. So pitching wise, I'm like the best pitching team in the league right now, right? I strike out 10 guys a game. I rarely give up more than 4 runs, right? So it's like I'm really solid pitching wise, right? But offense, it's really weird. I can put the ball in play almost every at bat, but the thing is, in play does not mean it's a hit, right?
Yeah.
Because that's a ground out, fly out, whatever. So this creates this effect where I can put balls in play, but the chances of them landing safely is like 1 in 10. All right. So if I swing at a lot of pitches early, that means I'll get to the 4th or 5th inning and the opposing pitcher will have only thrown like 15 pitches. Right. And the issue with that is if you get deep into a game and the opposing starting pitcher is low in his pitch count, that means he's fresh. He's not running out of stamina. He's still going strong. Right. So what I have had to do to adjust is I have to have the greatest plate discipline of all time. And I have to work every single count into a 2-strike count, which means even at the beginning of a first pitch of the game, if I can tell it's a fastball going right down the middle, I don't swing at it because I have to force the pitcher to throw as many pitches as that pitcher as I can make them throw, right? So I have to wait until I at least get 2 strikes. And then I start swinging defensively if it looks like this is going to be a 3rd strike, right? So it's this really weird difficulty where I have to put myself into a hole, right, a 2-strike count, to force the opposing pitcher to throw more pitches so that by the 5th inning, instead of him have only throwing, 20 freaking pitches, he's actually got a pitch count up, which means I can force them to go to the bullpen, which means their starter is gone, which means they're going to pitchers that may not be as good, and blah, 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 all that. So it's a really strange difficulty. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. It's hard. Like, it's not easy. It doesn't feel like I'm destroying teams a lot. And if you look at my scores, I'm only winning like 4-2, 3-1, 2-1, stuff like that.
But you're winning.
But I'm winning, yeah. So, but that's the thing, is it's like, it's really difficult, but I'm winning consistently, so I don't know if I want to turn up the difficulty because the challenge is there. Anyway, weird. One more game I want to talk about. Cold Waters.
Mm-hmm.
So, I got the itch to play Cold Waters again. And so it's a Cold Waters. I played it a long time ago. It's a submarine
one, right?
Yep,
Okay.
submarine simulator. There's a couple different time frames, whatever.
Yeah.
And the one that you start off with, or the one that's based in mostly, is the 1980s, right?
Okay.
So
Cold War?
it's a Cold War thing where the Cold War goes hot. And then you operate a submarine, and
What are we
Thankfully,
gonna
not
do now?
nuclear hot. It's just, ground war.
you operate a submarine, and you have to operate against a Soviet
Cold waters?
bloc. Yeah, Soviet bloc countries and the Soviet Union and stuff like that in the 1980s. There's also a 60s and an early 2000s that has to do with like the South China Sea and stuff. But anyway, so okay, Cold Waters is both the dumbest game that I've ever played, but also a really damn good game. Because I told a story last week, Connor, about how I was trying to outrun an enemy ship, right? And enemy ships are generally faster than submarines. Because submarines are underwater, so they have to put up with the I don't know why. I guess it's probably because they have to be quiet and there's more resistance, more pressure that keeps the water close together. No idea why. But anyway, so generally speaking, ships are faster. So it's hard to outrun ships when ships know where you're at, right? So how do you outrun ships? So I was telling Connor last week that what I did was I essentially, when you fire a torpedo and it activates and it doesn't have a target, it just spins in a circle until it picks up on something. So what I essentially did was I created a corridor with 2 sets of torpedoes. And then as the ship sailed, I turned around and went the other way, and that forced the ship to go around the torpedoes, and it lost me, and that's how I escaped. There's awesome things like that. But Cold Waters is also really dumb because it's when you move around a map, Indiana Jones style, and then you pick up on enemy ships and you engage them, right? And there's really no telling what kind of water you're going to enter into. You can tell if it's going to be shallow or deep,
Just by the map.
just by the map. But precision, you don't really know how shallow or deep, just in general. And you also don't know what the condition of the water is going to be. So where in the ocean, when the water changes temperature, there's actually a layer, right? It's called there's a duct. And it's not like a really big gradient. It's actually a pretty specific place where it changes temperature. And this condition creates scenarios where radar or sonar will bounce out off of this layer, okay?
Oh.
So if there's a ship on the surface and you're in a submarine and you're right underneath this layer, the sonar, instead of detecting you, will bounce right above you because you have a little shield on top of you.
Yeah.
It doesn't work everywhere, but it depends on where you are. Anyway, so when you see this layer, it's a good idea to try and use this layer to your advantage because you're a submarine and stealth is a part of your tactics. But sometimes there's no layer, and so it's just 1,000 feet of water, and there's really nowhere to hide, right? And this is when Cold Waters gets dumb because you spawn into a game, and it's like, all right, your mission is to hunt. You're gonna hunt and kill this submarine. Go complete your objective. So you sail out there. And then you see the submarine, your objective on the map. So you're like, hell yeah, I'm going to engage. You engage. You pop into the match. And it's just you've got a sonar contact, 2,000 yards ahead of you. And it's just 1,000 feet of water, no layer. And within 30 seconds, freaking torpedoes just get launched. And it just becomes a hellscape because there's no way to... I don't know how to sneak in that situation because you can go ultra silent, but it's not going to stop anything because they can still detect you with passive sonar. So basically, what I have resorted to, and this is where it feels dumb because it doesn't feel tactical at all, is there's a moss torpedo that mimics the sound of a torpedo. So I load up one of the mosses and I load up 3 torpedoes. And as soon as I get into a situation like this, which happens a lot, I fire the moss the opposite direction of me, creating a decoy, and I just shoot all my torpedoes and I go at an opposite depth of my torpedoes, right, to throw off the scent, I guess. And the enemy fires torpedoes at me, and it just becomes everybody's going as fast as they can. Everybody's going in circles, firing torpedoes every direction, and it's just nonstop chaos for like 30 minutes. And that's when Cold Waters feels really dumb because it's just like this doesn't it doesn't feel like a submarine commander would be like, let's wait until we're right on their nose, and then we're just gonna go balls wild shooting torpedoes at each other.
So you can engage at 25,000 yards.
Well, I know you can.
Yeah.
They can too. That's the problem.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm saying you can enter the engagement at 25,000 yards.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
And
you should always do it. And you can travel slow on the map so that when you enter, you're already rigged for quiet. Or you're already going 5 knots and then rigging for quiet is easier.
Okay. Well, in any case, I wish that there, like, if I know there's an enemy fleet, you would think that a submarine commander would go, okay, we're going to intercept this fleet at their 6 o'clock so that we're in their baffles or whatever, so that they don't detect us. Not, okay, go here on the map, and then wherever we spawn, that's what happens. And you just spawn anywhere, and then torpedoes go flying. I hit your mic, Richard. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Anyway, so those are the 3 games.
You should try U-Boat.
Yeah, I know.
U-Boat's a little bit more freeform. You don't have to load into the battles. And if you want to position yourself in their baffles, which really...
U-Boat just seems...
Really, 1940s, positioning yourself in the baffles can be any direction because the sonar was really rudimentary.
But it's like extremes, because in Cold Waters, if somebody shoots a torpedo, that one torpedo, there's nothing you can do. You are dancing with that torpedo for 30 minutes, dropping noisemakers, going up, down, left, right. This torpedo, they're the most tenacious things on Earth. And then World War II, you fire a torpedo, that you might as well be throwing tin cans half the time, because it's just torpedoes get laughed at half the time, So it's like you don't know. So it's like 2 extremes. 1980s torpedoes, basically unstoppable, and 1940s torpedoes, a joke.
I think you're just playing Cold Waters wrong, because
I don't think I am, because I can't stop if I'm running ultra quiet and I'm at max distance that the game allows me to start, and I'm already getting detected, and then I get a torpedo fired at me. How am I supposed to avoid that? Now, if there's a duct, then I can try and use the duct.
First off, don't go full tilt maximum knots and start evading when the torpedoes.
Well, that's what you have to do.
No, you don't.
As soon as we're not gonna debate this.
When the torpedo fires, it's not active.
Not as soon as but it is going to eventually detect me, because its range of motion is so much that if I don't speed up, I'm not going to get outside of its view cone. So I can either wait until it detects me, torpedo in the water.
It's a lot easier to dodge than you're realizing.
No.
It really is.
I think I'm just a better skipper than you.
Says the person that has to outrun torpedoes.
Yeah, well, your torpedoes are still stuck in 1944. So,
and I'm doing better than you. So who's the better skipper?
Is the podcast breaking up?
On VH1. Yeah, they got in a fight about submarines, I think.
Who was better at dodging than...
Richard, you go next.
Yeah, I played and beat a game this week.
Oh, wow.
Yay!
I beat Horizon Forbidden West. I keep saying Zero Dawn. I can never say Forbidden West.
I know.
It's always Zero Dawn. And I played and beat Forbidden West, and I probably did it in the worst way possible compared to a lot of other people, but I'm still in this mental situation of not really wanting to do the open world game thing, thanks to Elden Ring, you know, and the 90 hours I sunk into it. So I said, I got to start playing Horizon. I got to get through this. So the first initial 5-ish hours I got into it again, I just really was forcing myself to do this thing. And so I just said, you know what? I want to just take it easy. I want to enjoy this game in the way that I want to enjoy it. So I went straight to the accessibility settings, and I turned everything to the easiest possible that I could. And I had a blast playing the game afterwards. I know other people. I know like you wanted more of a challenge when it came to fighting all the machines. Yeah, you said you raised the difficulty, I think.
Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah,
right.
I did appreciate that.
And that's fine. That's cool. But it's also pretty nice to like shoot things once or twice and they're just like done. So, so that's pretty nice too. Throughout the entire game, I enjoyed most of what I played. There are some things that I definitely did not like. I know that I felt like there were a lot of things that they used to pad the game that I did not jive with, particularly how you traverse a lot of ways, particularly using like your grapple rope to pull things down. They introduce it, but I felt like they didn't use it enough for me to remember that I had it, because I'd come to a lot of jumps or a lot of situations where I'm hanging there and I'm kind of like, what's next? What the hell do I do? And there's this little blue like thing on the other wall because their signification of pulling stuff is like blue. And I would like die or like just kind of bang my head in the wall and then just be like, oh, there's the damn thing there. All right. And I also felt that sometimes their climbing, the collision detection, is either god awful or just non-existent, because there was, as you're going around the world, there are drones that you can observe and then jump on and then hack to like kind of survey the area again. And there was one I wasn't hunting for it. It was just along my way where I was going. And I looked at it and I was like, I could reach it. That's no problem. I could reach that. Sure. And there was even it stops right in front of a cliff that like goes out and you could, oh man, this is easy. So I jump towards it after like running and jumping and I miss it. I'm like, okay, well, I'll try this again. Sure. And I was like, well, actually there was a higher up ledge. So I jumped off that, pulled out my glider, landed pretty much straight on top of it. And just Aloy was just like, nope. And she just dropped and did not grab on or anything. And at that point I was just like, hey, no, I'm not going to do this. And I just kept going. I really love some of the things that they kind of convey, particularly with the idea that, let's say 500 years from now, someone finds some historical event that happened or something. But because of the years that have gone by, something is lost, like particular pieces of context are lost. And so they misconstrue the entire thing and build a belief around it. And so you meet this group out in the West who pulled up in a museum.
Yeah.
And it tells the story of like a battle between all these fighter jets and the machines below. But because the data is so ruined, it only plays particular parts of it. And so this tribe creates a belief around the 10. They call them the 10. It was like fighter pilots who protected the area. And so their whole thing is praying to the 10 and like glory to the 10 and stuff. And they have the salute as they're like greeting to each other. And I really like love those small things. And I think it's really awesome. I'm going to skip, and I'm going to say real quick, because I want to get to it. This is my personal opinion. The ending really soured the entire experience for me,
you think
though,
so?
Unfortunately, yes. Because it now, and this sounds silly, I can't suspend my disbelief anymore.
With what? How so?
With what is happening with the ending. And coming into the third game, like I cannot do it.
I'll say that.
Do we want a spoiler right here, and then you just elaborate?
I think it's fine.
Okay.
Because I would agree, because I beat Forbidden West 2. I completely forgot, which maybe that's indicative. I don't know, but
I'd say so.
I didn't think the ending was that bad. I didn't think it was that great. But yeah, it sets up for the third game.
Mm-hmm.
And the setup for the third game doesn't feel super interesting.
Yes.
To me.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
And it felt like they were going to do a different setup, which was a little more interesting, maybe even a bit of a cliffhanger. And they didn't do that.
I may be lost on what you're talking about.
Because somebody was going to take someone.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it felt like there may be a bit of a cliffhanger or something interesting there.
Yeah, that would have been neat.
But instead it ends, and the setup for the next game feels kind of generic, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, generic. And once again, like I said, just unbelievable, because we have this. When you unfold the story in the second game, I actually thought it was really cool. I thought it made a lot of sense, and it was a great, smaller type of twist that came out halfway through the game. But then there's something bigger, and something is coming to Earth. I'm just going to fuck it. Something is coming to Earth that basically destroyed the villain's home world within hours. It's coming to Earth.
But what it isn't that interesting.
Yeah.
Well, Connor, you'll put a spoiler.
Yeah. I'll put a spoiler earlier when I said spoiler.
Sure. Yeah, okay. So maybe do a cold open and talk about the spoiler. I don't know. We'll talk about that later.
Whatever.
But okay, so go ahead.
There was a spaceship before the world ended, a spaceship that left Earth holding like 100 people. I can't remember how many. A group called Far Zenith. When they took off, reports came back to Earth that the spaceship blew up. Like, it failed. And along board, they had a copy of Apollo, which was like a core that had the information of human knowledge on it. Well, it turns out they sent that fake signal to say, hey, we blew up. Like, we're all dead. But they didn't die. They actually succeeded in going to a different planet. They flourished there, became invincible and immortal to an extent. Thousands of years later, or 1,000 year whatever, they come back to Earth, and this is who Aloy is fighting now. So, at the end of the game, after you defeat them, because you find out how to, make them not invincible, they tell you that while they were up there on their planet, they got tired of being physically immortal, some of them, and they decided they wanted to be, digitally immortal and upload their consciousness and stuff. So all of their emotions, their consciousness, whatever, was uploaded to some sort of database. That database stewed and corrupted after several decades and escaped. And is just this gigantic ball of data fire that destroyed their homeworld in a matter of hours. And 20 of them escaped, came to Earth. They're trying to grab the rest of the cores on Earth to leave and go somewhere else. And so Aloy stops them from doing that. But now this ball of whatever is coming to Earth. And it ends with Aloy's like, well, when it gets here, we'll stop them.
It wasn't super interesting to me either.
No.
Especially because, and I don't know, this is going to sound stupid. I guess I was more open to the idea that we didn't know what killed Far Zenith.
Yeah.
And it's like, could it be alien? Like what? And I know that sounds dumb because it's the same left turn. Like all of a sudden bad guys in the next horizon are aliens. It's like, that doesn't make any sense.
I would have been fine with that.
But it's like, we already had an AI that was a bad guy. So now this is just a bigger AI.
Right.
That is a badder guy.
There's always a bigger AI.
So it doesn't seem that interesting to me.
I enjoyed the first Horizon because it was like, whoa, this is really interesting. Like, post-apocalyptic tribes are trying to survive with these
against robot dinosaurs.
And it's like, how are they doing it? Like, it's really cool. Provide a really cool twist, find out how the world ends and everything. It's really, really interesting. This one, there's something else happening to the world, which honestly in the main story does not get touched on like at all. The disease that's running rampant and killing all plant life and life.
Do you not stop that?
Part of the AI.
I don't think you do.
No.
You can cure it at where the Yutaro are from.
Yeah.
You stop it there because everything turns green. But yeah, now that you mention it, I don't remember if you ever figure out why that's happening.
No.
You figure out how it gets made.
Yes, but
like not why it's spreading. Maybe I must have missed a line or something.
But what made Forbidden West a lot less interesting to me is that it still did the whole, like, for a lot of the people you meet, what do you mean what I believe isn't real? Technology? What is this? Whoa, you know? And also, they're giving out these focuses like candy. Like, I thought there was only the one that Aloy found in the game. And all of a sudden, she has bags of them. Like, yeah, here you go. And she's just handing them out, which is cool because it will accelerate things. But also, in the same time, it's just like...
It does kind of feel silly because like she always has extra ones, you know? Yeah. It's like entire buildings will blow up. She's like, here. But at the same time, I think thematically it's appropriate because the idea is that she's sort of stopping herself from
doing it alone.
She's taking weight off of her shoulders and physically giving things to people and saying, I need your help, which is one of the big themes of the game. But I agree that it is kind of silly sometimes because there are moments where literally someone breaks their focus and she's like, like hands up focus, like it's a business card. You know? So yes, I would agree that I loved all the characters.
I loved a lot of them. Yeah, I loved a lot of them. They were really cool, especially got his name, the leader of the tribe of the 10. Started with an H.
Karu. Yep. Karu was good. They were all.
So yeah, I mean, and then also, I like the guy with one arm, but it just really sucks. Yeah, Katalo. It just really sucks because it's like, go help him get this one arm. You make him a new arm, and then he's like, this isn't me. And I'm like, all right, whatever. Because he does like really cool shit with that arm. Like he hits the ground, it's like shockwaves are coming out. I'm like, holy fuck, this is dope. And he's just like, this is dumb. Like, oh, man. And of course,
why are we here? Just to suffer.
I have to bring this up. I'm sorry. They killed the one cool black guy.
Yeah.
And it was just, you know, my wife was next to me and it happened and she was just like, of course. Like she was, of course. And I didn't react at all because it just happened.
I could see what they were going for. Yeah. It needed some kind of emotional high point.
And I should have seen it coming because like the scene before, he's just like, I know what I'm going to do now. I'm going to go back to the tribe. I'm going to teach everybody.
Retire.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Got a kid on
and he gets a girlfriend in this one. And then it's, And I should have seen it coming.
Ever since Game of Thrones, when a character is about to get killed, you know, because the writers are in, they're like, what should we have this guy do? Oh, he finds $1 million. He falls in love. He gets a puppy. All one episode. Episode after that gets shot right in the fucking face. You know? It's like, that's how things are written now. But,
when I talk about Horizon Forbidden West, it sounds like I don't like it. And that's not the case. Like, overwhelmingly amount of the game I enjoy.
Sure.
It's absolutely gorgeous. It plays wonderfully. Fighting, even on the easiest of difficulties, is so fun. It's so cool. And I will go back and I will do all the other stuff. I know I will, because I've done it before with other open world games. But yeah, just I'm happy I got to beat it. Not a fan of the ending because it's just kind of one of those getting too big too fast and they're just kind of making something else to make something else. My friend used this analogy and I'm gonna steal it from him. But it's like first season of Stranger Things, it was really cool because it's just these kids in this like small town. Yeah. They find some creepy. Now they're fighting Russians and like they're going to hell and all this stuff in like the new season. It's like, okay, well,
sounds like your friend's a moron. Just kidding. I'm kidding.
You know him.
I'm kidding. Okay, no, I understand that. I understand that.
Too big, too big for his britches.
I think we're on the same. I think we're on the same wavelength when it comes to.
It just soured it a bit. It didn't like. Yeah. I'm not gonna write it off, but it was just like
and
underwhelming.
There was one really interesting character, and her. The way that the game ended for her, I think, was really predictable, and it would have been a lot more interesting had it not gone that route.
Which one?
Carrie-Anne Moss.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Because I thought that was really cool, the moments you had with her and stuff like that.
I was very into those moments.
Yeah,
very into
that was kind of like, that is kind of cliched.
Although it's one of those things where I was kind of like, I would have gone with her. Anyways,
Connor.
I played not a lot this week, but I did get back into an older game that I know and love, and that you guys tease me about endlessly.
Europa Universalis 4.
Yep.
How's that going?
Good.
Did you marry your daughter? And
that's Crusader Kings.
Okay, sorry.
This one's creating colonies and being a colonizer.
Oh man.
Or being colonized.
Sure.
You could play it.
Oh, I love being colonized. It's in my blood.
Oh, jeez. I feel really uncomfortable right now.
I'm sorry.
So, Stranger Things. Okay, continue. How's your up your south going?
I don't even want to talk about it anymore.
I'm sorry for ruining the mood, everyone.
No, it's fine, Richard. It's fine.
Let's hit the end.
All right, hit the end.
Oh, okay, all right.
We want to give a massive shout out to the sponsors of this episode. They have been silently supporting us since the very beginning, and we felt it was time to give them some love. The like and share buttons have been at our side since episode 1 of the podcast. They can be found just beneath this episode. Please give them a click, it helps us greatly. If you're feeling lucky, click the bell icon to enter for a notification anytime we post new content. You may be surprised by what you get.
So, I was really trying to make that a euphemism for something else, but it ended up just kind of going the other way. I'm sorry.
Okay, an update on Keywords Studios unionization. So some background: employees at Keywords Studios who do contract work for BioWare Edmonton announced they were going to attempt to unionize. That was a couple weeks ago. One of the reasons for their unionization effort was a policy that required Keywords employees to return to the office this month. As first reported by The Verge, Keywords is reversing that policy, telling workers they should maintain working from home until further notice. The Verge previously reported that full-time BioWare employees in Edmonton were already offered a hybrid work from home option. I don't know if this is a sign of anything for the unionization effort. I don't know if this could be considered some form of union busting. I don't know, because I'm not an expert in any of this stuff. To try and drive a wedge, because it's like, hey, they gave us one of the things we want. Never mind.
Right, yeah.
It could be that. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not an expert. I hate repeating myself because we talk about a lot of the same stories a lot of the times, but I also don't want to not talk about the stories that, we touched on earlier weeks. So I'll just go back to what I always say with unionization is I feel like everybody understands that it's not a perfect solution. In some ways, it may even not be a great solution, but it may be the only solution to help shore up the industry. So.
Yeah, without without a lot more details, it's all just conjecture, and what we have isn't really enough to ensure that something good is any good change is happening with the employees and the company. So if there are any talks right now, obviously we're not hearing of it. So with any of the quote unquote leaders of the employees and the company, but. Who knows? Maybe it could be a good thing.
Yeah, and how labor stuff works in Canada, I really have no idea. I have no idea how it works in the United States, let alone in Canada. So, and as we learned when we talked with Mark Dara, Edmonton is way farther north than I realized.
Oh,
it's way the hell up there. But anyway, so and the other thing was the contract work stuff. This is sort of an interesting thing that's popped up in the past few weeks because we had the Nintendo employees talk about sort of how the culture is formed around contract employees, and that's an issue that's larger than the games industry. That has to do with just contract work in general and in the tech industry and stuff like that. So, and it doesn't have so much to do with harassment as it does just equitable. Should this be the way things are, an issue? So anyway, so there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of things at play here, which makes it interesting. But I think we'll just leave it there. A class action suit has been filed against Wata, accusing them of manipulating the retro video game market. As first reported by Video Game Chronicle, the suit was filed in the Central District of California. Class members are all U.S. residents who paid for Wata's game grading and other services. Exact number of class members is unknown, but is estimated to be over 10,000. Wata, which started in 2018, rates a game and its market value, which essentially, I guess, sets its market value in a sense, maybe.
Not necessarily.
No, not necessarily?
It's a bit more in depth than that.
In any case, they do it before the game is sold. The lawsuit alleges that Wata, along with Heritage Auctions, works to inflate the price of retro games, and then they profit from that. The two companies were accused of colluding last year both deny this. The suit also alleges Wata employees of selling their own graded games, which would be a conflict of interest because you yourself are grading the game that you're going to sell. So obviously that's kind of sketchy. The suit gets into a lot of details, gets into names. I didn't want to go point by point because there is a ton of stuff. So, but Richard, you always have interesting perspectives on retro game market and stuff like that.
This is a very large conversation to get into, but I'm going to try to do my best to keep it all together in my head and regurgitate out what I know. There are two sets of retro markets. There is the grading retro market, and then there's just like the retro market in general, collecting. This is kind of a mixture of all the bad things in the right place at the right time. Because we have Wata, who grades games, which, this is my own personal opinion, is a complete arbitrary thing. To, like, you send your game into somebody, this random person looks at it and goes, this looks like a 6, like of its condition, of how good it looks. They send it back to you in this really nice looking case and everything. But then you can turn around and be like, look, I have a graded 9 game. It's in perfect condition. You can have this on your wall to display, like how cool it looks. That feeds into the collector's mindset, which is dangerous to get into the gaming industry, because collectors in the gaming industry are extremely particular about what they want. When I have guys coming up and giving me a PS2 game, there's some guys who are like, "Hey, don't give me the one that has the red label."
Oh, the greatest hits.
Greatest hits, right? Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Like, guys will actually get on my case about giving them the red
they
label
want, like,
compared
first
to
print edition or something like that. Interesting. Okay.
And so, yes, I do this for a living, but also I'm not mentally into it. So it's kind of this weird thing that's like, in my opinion, if I go to a guy's house and he has a whole collection, I'm not going to sit there and be like, wow, that's a really awesome collection, man. Is every manual in there? Like, can I see? Like, I don't care, but there are guys who are going to want everything absolutely pristine. So Wata is targeting that type of audience.
That's an interesting perspective.
And so we have not only Wata, but Heritage Auctions. It's kind of a domino of, you make money so that you can make money.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so when they say that Wata and Heritage are not colluding, with the evidence that is given in this lawsuit, I find that very hard to believe.
Yeah, there's some pretty interesting details.
Yes, and not only that, there's another bit of an interesting detail that I lost track of, but the 6 times in a row in the past 3 years, Wata has had record-breaking sales on particular games. What is very funny about the games that are record-breaking is that they are some of the best-selling titles of all time. Super Mario Bros., Super Mario 64, like Zelda, like these games did not sell like 200,000 copies. They sold millions and millions and millions of copies. When Mario Bros. Sells for $1 million, what happens is everybody knows Mario. Like, nobody doesn't know Mario. So I have regular old people coming into my store. They go, I have Mario. It's $1 million, isn't it? And I go, not $1 million. Like, someone is pulling one over on you. Like, it's an investment now. It's the high art industry.
Yeah.
These rich people are now dabbling in rich people things, and they are causing this market, particularly the graded market, to go out of control. There's the other retro game market that I talk about, is its own thing, and there's inflation when it comes to games on that side, but there are a lot of reasons for that. However, this is targeting very specific people who have enough money to deal with this stuff. Someone who has an entire collection of NES games or SNES games, I can guarantee you they're probably pretty well off, and they're not just a normal person, if that makes sense. So when you see something that, a graded 10 Mario go for $1 million, yeah, no, it's rich people or money laundering are involved. One of the two.
So yeah, how the market is set, is something that's super complicated that I'm never going to understand, right?
There's
because there's a lot that goes into it, right? Because like when you get a game in your store, I don't know how much you want to talk about your work.
I could do it all day.
Or how much you want to divulge or whatever. But like say I bring in a game and you're gonna buy it from me, you're gonna resell it. What do you look where do you find the market value for that thing I just gave you?
Okay, so generally a lot of people use a website called pricecharting.com. And what that does is that takes the aggregates. It's like Metacritic or whatnot. It takes the aggregates of everything that is sold through several websites or that is put up on several websites, particularly Amazon, eBay, GameStop. Two of those three, in my opinion, are completely useless, Amazon and GameStop. GameStop, because they don't deal with retro games.
Sure, yeah.
They deal with new games.
Yeah.
Amazon, because they don't, you can put whatever you want on Amazon and set whatever price you want on Amazon. eBay is the only website that I know that if you search for Super Mario Brothers, you hit enter, you're going to get listings. On the side, you can click a button that says, show me the listings that have actually sold. And you'll get a new page of numbers with green numbers. Those are actually completed sales of what people have bought those things for. So
you can see a transaction history.
Right, exactly. So what I do is if I'm looking at and I want to see how much Mario Brothers goes for, I will usually take the first page up until about, if there's enough sales in the last half year, I'll usually go up to about 3 months. And if there's a trend of, oh, it looks like this is consistently selling for $10, this game is worth $10. Price it at that. Sometimes things can get wild, like last year when Sony announced they were shutting down the PlayStation Store. All of the PS3 games that, you can't get anymore spiked like crazy. And they came down a little bit just because of that panic buy of collectors who are just kind of resting on their laurels until the game gets as low as it can be. Something like this happens. And they all go, oh, crap. And they go out and they snatch everything up and they cause things to go up and then things to go down, et cetera, et cetera. There's plenty of reasons why a game will get expensive compared to when a game will get super cheap. Of course, someone came in the other day and had a stack of games. I only give him $30 for it. But he had Rage 2, Resident Evil 7, like the best-selling games on these consoles. I have lots of these. I'm sorry. Like, I can't give you too much because everyone bought this game. But if someone buys a copy of, I don't know, like Devil's Third on the Wii U, which is like $500 now, nobody bought that game. Nobody gave a shit, So makes sense in some instances, some in others. There are external factors and internal factors of why things get crazy.
Yeah. I imagine this industry has a lot of overlap with other sort of collector market. I'm sure sports memorabilia it's probably similar in some ways, probably pretty different in others. And I'm sure there's a lot of sketchy things that go on. One of the favorite things that you've taught me is the whole thing with fake cartridges and like emulation, which I didn't think could exist. Shows my ignorance. I want to ask you one more question. Okay, so how do you, when you're determining something's value, how do you take into consideration the item's condition? Yeah. So if I bring you, let's just stick with Super Mario's. Well, that may not be a good example.
It could be.
Let's do this
because I don't know what the market value is right now, considering pretend Wata and the $1 million sales don't exist, I guess.
Sure.
I bring you in a box, Super Mario's box, and you're going to look at this box, right? What things on the box are going to help you determine the worth to a collector? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that does make sense.
All right, go.
That is.
I'm sorry about making you talk about work.
No.
Hanging out.
So this is the thing. This is the thing I like about work.
Oh, okay, cool.
The other things are other stuff.
Sure.
That is a very broad, interesting question because it depends on who the worker is. And for me, I very much continuously think about what that game has been through. So if I see a complete in box Mario game, 1985, 35 years old, comes in, slight wear on it, maybe a crease. I'm going to, say it has the box and everything. I'm going to look at it and be like, this is pretty good. Like, you got to think about it. Like 35 years, up until about the mid 2000s, video games were played by children.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't mostly played by adults. They were mostly played by children. And children do not care about their stuff.
Don't give a shit.
Yes. I have guys who come in and I'll tell them that, and they'll be like, well, I took care of mine. It's like, yeah, sure. I'm sure you did. Like, it's obvious. It's obvious you did.
I'm not saying you did. I'm just saying in general.
In general, yes. So that makes it like, I am definitely going to, let's say if Mario complete in box, perfect condition was $80. And yeah, one comes in and looks perfect. I'm like, yeah, sure, $80. But if it has a crease on it, or if it has a crease on it, but it's just kind of like, oh yeah, there's a little crease there, might not drop the price on it, because someone's barometer of how good it looks is completely different from somebody else's. I've had...
So I know what you're saying. You don't want to underestimate or overestimate your preferences with another collector that won't give a shit about a certain scratch or something like that.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Because there are things that people look for so long that they either get to a point where they go, I've been looking for this for 3 years. It looks good enough, man. Give it to me, Or, I will have a guy who, like, I will give them a perfect disc and they will still find something to complain about. And I'll just be like... Sure, I'll clean it, I guess. Like, I don't want to because you're kind of ruining it more, but, I'll do it. So, yeah, everybody's barometer is different. And I kind of am scummy about it because a lot of things I know people will buy no matter what. That's not to say I'm going to, sell a ripped label Super Metroid for full value. I'm going to devalue it a little bit, take, like, $10 off or $15 off or something. But... Mario is the best example because everybody wants Mario. It doesn't matter what it is. I can still sell a ripped label Mario at full price because someone will come in and be like, $20 for Mario. That's a great price. And mentally I'll be like, well, it's supposed to be like $10 less than this. But what comes out of my mouth is, yeah, sure, man. Because, I'm not buying it. They are.
Yeah.
And the average person actually makes a dent on this industry more than collectors do. Because of the big N word, nostalgia.
Yeah, sure.
And GameCube is like I mentioned I think I mentioned earlier, the worst right now. I think I made this example here. GameCube in the US, GameCube only sold 13 million systems in the US. The next console,
only
Wii,
13 million.
Well, when the Wii sold over 120 million.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's a third of households in the United States almost. Yeah.
The best-selling game on the GameCube was Smash Brothers at 4 million. So that's a third of the sales of GameCube. And then if you think about like unpopular games, Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door. Like people like Mario, but they don't like RPG Mario games. That game is highly sought after now. So that game is like $150, $200.
Yeah.
Because, once again, the GameCube was owned by children. Children do not take care of their stuff.
Sure.
And they stop making these things. Come in and they're like, I can't find this anywhere. It's like, well, like, I understand you're not in this industry, but you're not thinking about this.
Children are war criminals and they destroy things.
Yes.
Dude, the cross-section of preservation, the retro video game market, video game history. It's like Babylon 5 or DS9. It's like a space station where all kinds of this really fascinating stuff goes on, but also in the corner, like Guldu Kot's planning something you don't like, It's just all kinds of great stuff.
I have a hypothetical for you.
Yeah, I'll try.
So let's say I have
coming out of the shower. Sorry, that was a Step Brothers quote. I'm sorry.
Let's say I have a copy of the video game tie-in for the 2007 movie Beowulf. I'm fairly certain that is the only copy of that game sold. Now, how much do you think that would go for?
Richard, can you do your job right now? No.
No, I'm doing it.
All right, we're moving on. Square Enix, or you can look it up if you want. I can't stop you. Square Enix plans on new studios and other Square, yeah.
Worthless. Steam tells me $1.99.
Connor's almost falling out of his chair.
I'm embarrassed answering that question.
All right. So we got an answer. The physical copy of Beowulf, starring Angelina Jolie. It's worthless. It's $1.99.
My life savings gone.
I only deal with serious hypotheticals.
Send that shit to Wata. Ask them to rate that. All right. Anyway.
They would probably grade it.
Okay. You'd be in the hole because they cost like $20 to grade, so you'd be like paying them to sell. And it doesn't
Not only that, you'd be waiting like 2 years to get it back as well.
Yeah, and then Heritage Auctions would come. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, allegedly. Okay, moving on. Square Enix plans on opening new studios and other bullshit. This is according to a recent Square Enix financial report under quote objectives behind divestiture of select overseas studios and IP. Square Enix lists 3 points. Achieve sustained growth through selection and concentration of company resources. Better align overseas publishing function with organization in Tokyo. Transform group business portfolio. Reading from the first point. Connor, can you go ahead and give me Don LaGreca here for a second? In anticipation of changes in the global business environment for game development, we intend to optimize our resource allocation so that we can develop appealing titles better aligned to customer needs while simultaneously bolstering our profitability.
Filthy human piece of garbage.
Thank you. All right, I just want to complain about Square. Okay, you know what I was thinking the other day? I was thinking when Xbox makes ads, right?
Xbox.
We've got Master Chief is up there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What other characters are up there when Xbox has banner ads or whatever?
Joanna Dark, Banjo-Kazooie maybe,
Keep going.
Battletoads.
There's one I want to get to eventually. She's always up there.
Oh, Laura Croft, right?
Laura fucking Croft.
Yeah, Laura Croft, yeah.
If you're Square Enix, you owned an IP that Xbox puts next to the Master Chief, right? Isn't that something you would love as an IP owner, right? And Square Enix sold it away because fucking blockchain. And it's not that I am super passionate about Square Enix. It's not that I'm super passionate about Tomb Raider. It's just the principle of the matter. And there are so many sectors of this industry with goals completely unaligned with just running a sustainable business. And it makes me makes me so frustrated. And so, you know, it's like they said they're gonna open new studios. And listen, if the idea was we just want to refocus on the Japanese market.
Yeah.
Or maybe not specifically Japanese, but on the Eastern Seaboard, right?
Mm-hmm.
A more local market. I would understand that. But that's not just what this is. This is also blockchain and NFTs. And that bothers me. Because these companies are always acting like they're one copy short of having, and they're just going to have to fire 50% of their employees if they don't sell a couple more copies of a game. But that's not the case. And so it really bothers me. And I just, you know, I just want to say that. In the past few years, they lost Hitman. They mismanaged the hell out of Hitman.
Yeah.
And now they've mismanaged the hell out of Deus Ex. And
Yeah, they really did.
And Tomb Raider.
Mm-hmm.
And whose fault is that? I don't know. But fish rots from the head. So, you know, whose fault is it that the Cowboys have been 500 since 1994? I don't know. But it's
Obviously,
a shit
they're
organization.
quarterbacks.
So whose fault is it that Square Enix has had all these great IPs and they seem to not be able to get their shit together? I don't know. But it's a shit organization and the fish rots from the head and they need to quit thinking about NFTs. I'm not passionate about... I love Tomb Raider, but it's not like I am particularly passionate. I am passionate about reasonable decision-making and not doing stupid shit. So I just wanted to yell about Square Enix more.
That's understandable.
No, that is, yeah, because Tomb Raider alone, Xbox, paid Square Enix exclusive, launch window rights for Rise of the Tomb Raider for like a year because they wanted to kind of like compete with Uncharted. Sure, it didn't, work out as well as they wanted. It never was going to, but people bought the games. People bought, like, Tomb Raider sold 4 million copies for the original Tomb Raider. Oh, over that now. Like, I mean, it's well over that. But when it came out, like that first year, it was like 4 million copies. Like, that's nothing to scoff at. But Square Enix had to come out and state how much of a failure it was. And Hitman is doing the best it's ever been. Like, because
they tried to release it in episodic form and all that stuff, and it's just like you had a good IP that you just couldn't bake and take out of the oven. You had to do some other manipulative. I don't even know if manipulative is fair. It's just some other bullshit. You couldn't just sell it. Yeah. And so now you're here, and it's gone. And IO Interactive's doing their own thing, and I still think they're independent, right? Or have they been bought?
No, shit.
They may have been purchased. I don't know. So many people have been purchased. I can't keep up anymore.
That's true.
But they're doing fine.
Yeah,
and we talked about that. They're working on the 007 game.
Yeah. They're doing great. But yeah, no, it's very puzzling. And now they lost a very stacked handful of IPs that have gone to Embracer Group, which I hope I mean, I don't even care if tomorrow Embracer Group says, yeah, we're going to make a new Deus Ex, like we're going to make a new Tomb Raider, we're doing that right now. Like,
it's what you should do.
Just hang on for the next year, but I'm letting you know we're making it right now. Like, that's your stock.
Yeah.
Goes up. Yeah. Straight to the moon.
Yep. And I think that's what you should do. When Disney got Star Wars, I don't think you should blame them for wanting to make Star Wars. Right? What they did was bad, but that's a different discussion.
Sure.
I think there is more blame to be put on companies like Electronic Arts that get the rights to Star Wars and then just shit all over themselves for 7 years or whatever, right? So I think that's what they should do. And just like Activision Blizzard talked about how they're reliant on a few games, Square Enix, it's like Final Fantasy 14, That's a huge thing for them now.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be. This doesn't have to be the world that Square Enix lives in. But, they're making their own bed. And it doesn't make sense to me. It just annoys me.
Sure. But one loss gains, one person's loss, another person's gain.
Yeah.
And I guess now we'll just be, well, they lost out, so now we'll see what Embracer Group does.
Listen,
we're sleeping dogs. Give me sleeping dogs too. Sleepy doggies.
Do it, Embracer Group. Make us proud.
IO is still independent.
Oh, okay. Nice. Good for them. I hope
Nice.
I hope they just
knock it out of the park.
$1 billion, and then they get.
I hope they keep the heat-seeking briefcase in the next Hitman game.
And 007 too. Yeah. We ready for tidbits?
Yes.
Let's do tidbits. A man discusses the news, but not like the big news, the little news. Little bit. This is the tidbits.
Old 90s fighting game from Capcom, Marvel Superheroes, has hidden plain in sight homages to comics, which is really cool. Over on Twitter, user Arsenal Tengu had found out that the 90s Capcom fighting game Marvel Superheroes, like I mentioned before, had victory poses and ending arts directly lifted from comic panels themselves. The thread had lengthy examples, but Capcom developers lovingly recreated specific poses for characters from panels, covers, and even obscure advertisements. As the thread went on, users continued to pour in with panels and examples of art used for the game. Some had even found the sources for the character select portraits in like other things. And it wasn't just like a tracing over, they actually just like with sprite art redid all of this stuff. Okay. So it's just really cool. I have the link. I don't know if I can hand that over and people can check it out. But
put it in the description.
Very, very cool. So this one's a really weird story involving Street Fighter, Bruce Lee, and a composer for Street Fighter. It is noted that I was following the story as it was happening. The composer eventually locked their tweets to only like specific people could view things.
Oh, okay.
This is a tiny bit of a lengthy one, but Daniel Lindholm was a composer for Street Fighter. He had a Q&A session over on YouTube, and there was kind of this like, who do you want to see for Street Fighter 6 coming out soon? And the possibility of Fei Long, who is a Bruce Lee like character. With every fighting game has a Bruce Lee character, you have to. But Fei Long, somebody asked about Fei Long returning to Street Fighter 6, and he had this to say, quote, "A character that I know we won't see at all. There's been a lot of discussion about it. I mentioned earlier, a character I would like to rewrite the music for would be Fei Long. I do have other sources, not only Capcom, but friends of mine in the US who are very close friends with the Lee family, and they have basically said that any kind of resemblance to Mr. Bruce Lee is now omitted for comedic effect. Comic stuff, it needs to be honorable. That's why we won't see Fei Long again, ever." Of course, news outlets picked up on this and they began to report on it, because why wouldn't you? They began to report on this, the supposed dropping of a beloved Street Fighter character. After a day or so, Lindholm tweeted out that he has now been fired and possibly blacklisted due to the commotion and the backlash that ensued and was directed towards Capcom and the questions provided to the Bruce Lee family, like the account of the Bruce Lee on Twitter. Lindholm claimed later that he was, quote, speaking on a hypothetical level, and that he, quote, had sources close to the Bruce Lee family, but not from Capcom. He also tried to bring in the fact that the Lee family was none too pleased with the late actor's portrayal in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Quentin Tarantino film.
Yeah, that's one I have not seen.
Right. Here's what happened. Responding on Twitter, the Bruce Lee account, who is run by his daughter, Shannon Lee, said, quote, "We never made any comments of this nature. We have no idea who Daniel Lindholm says his close friends of the family are, but his comments are entirely false surrounding the Bruce Lee family." And that's where this ended. I've not found anything else, no peeps about anything, but seems like somebody spoke out of turn when they should, kept their mouth shut.
Okay, well, unsavory.
Yeah, unsavory indeed. Looks like this one might be true, but a new Silent Hill game images were leaked.
I did see this.
Twitter user and gaming leaker Aesthetic Gamer revealed 4 images from a supposed Silent Hill game in development. He stated that the images were from an old build dating back to around 2020, so the project could look very different nowadays. Konami issued DMCA takedowns of them very quickly, and now it's been reported today that supposedly 3 Silent Hill projects are in the works.
Yeah, one at Bloober, right?
Yeah, remake of 2, Silent Hill 2 from Bloober team. Annapurna, I think,
Really?
an episodic story-based thing.
Do they do their own? Do they have their own game development?
No,
studios?
I don't think so. I don't think it was Annapurna, but it's somebody who does like who does episodic content.
Gotcha.
And then a third one that we don't know about. But yeah,
It's just money waiting to be spent.
of course.
And Konami just has to get their shit together and do it. You saw Resident Evil, super successful.
Mm-hmm.
And you may even argue that the Resident Evil remakes have increased interest in Resident Evil in general. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but it sure
I think that's
did with
true.
me. I didn't really care about 7 and 8, and then I played 2, and I was like, I want more of this shit. And 7 and 8's a bit different, but I enjoyed it, and I can't wait for whatever happens next. Resident Evil 4 on VR, one of the greatest VR games ever made.
It's so good.
So
I still need to dig into. But
It is Annapurna.
oh, it is Annapurna.
oh, so they do have their own like in-house development teams then. I didn't know that. Okay, interesting.
I gotta dig into.
It just says publisher Annapurna. It doesn't specify who, but yeah, they're involved.
Okay, cool.
I gotta dig into the Mercenaries mode on Resident Evil 4.
Oh yeah, that did release, didn't it? Did, yeah.
I got numbers.
Yay, NPD.
April 2022 consumer spending across video game hardware content. Verbatim, Matt Piscatella, et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you.
Listen to the last time we talked about it. I could copy paste it over. Really.
Oh, all right, sure.
Not really.
Then I have no job. April 2022 consumer spending across video game hardware, content, and accessories declined 8% when compared to a year ago to $4.3 billion. Year-to-date 2022 spending is 8% lower than the same period a year ago at $18.3 billion. Market has experienced 6 consecutive months of year-over-year declines. Sad face. Video game hardware dollar sales increased 16% when compared to a year ago to $343 million due to the improved supply of PS5, Xbox Series consoles. Year-to-date spending on hardware fell 9% to $1.5 billion.
Can I pause you for a
What
second and ask a question?
I can do my
Do
best
you
to
know
answer.
if Matt, I'm going to call him Matt because we're on a first name basis.
No, that's
Oh,
fine.
really?
Does he under gaming hardware, does he include like PC parts? Like, or no? Is it just consoles?
No, just consoles.
Okay,
Yeah,
just
there-
curious.
I think he does have a PC section, but it's only dedicated to sales of games.
Okay, cool. Continue. I'm sorry.
No,
It's like, sorry, just to pick back up on that, because including like PC hardware sales,
There'd be a lot there.
yeah,
would be a
and
lot there, yeah.
It'd kind of get muddled with, well, was this sales for gaming or for
Sure.
terrible Bitcoin operations?
Sure.
Of
course.
Good,
Sure.
good
Yes.
call.
Okay.
Nintendo Switch featured the highest unit sales of any hardware platform, both April and 2022 year to date. Xbox Series ranked second in units sold during both time periods. Lifetime unit sales of Nintendo Switch have now surpassed those of PlayStation 4, making it the fourth highest selling console in U.S. history and the sixth highest selling video game hardware platform overall. It trails the PS2, 360, and the Wii.
Does it have a chance?
Yes.
Really? Taking over the Wii?
I think so. Especially with the release. If they announce any new Mario game or any new
we know Breath of the
Zelda
Wild's
game
next
yeah.
year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Breath of the Wild 2, whatever.
Those are console sellers. And even in the slightest chance that they announce Mario Kart 9, I doubt they will, but like that's it.
Why wouldn't they though?
Because they just announced
they just
24
did.
brand new tracks.
Yeah, you're right. I'm stupid. They just did the deal.
No, I agree. Why wouldn't they? If not that, then, and I don't know why so many people, all the Nintendo fans hate this idea, but like, I don't know, Super Nintendo Kart or something. Like just have all the Nintendo, like Smash Brothers, but
Yeah.
Mario Kart.
Oh, that'd be I'd be down for that.
Play that.
Be down.
I mean, you can already have Link in.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's already a couple characters
Yeah.
in Mario Kart, so it's
So
like,
why not just broaden that horizon?
just transform it.
because it can only be Nintendo.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying.
Well, I'm saying that it can only be mainline Nintendo characters. So fuck Waluigi.
No, yeah, that's what he's saying.
I'm
Being
speaking
a
like a
purist, yeah.
Nintendo fan. Yeah. Sorry, continue.
Well, it's like, then it wouldn't be called Mario Kart. Fuck off, dude. PlayStation 5 led April in hardware dollar sales, trailed closely by the Series and Nintendo Switch. I'm just going to call it the Series. I kind of like that. Series has generated the highest hardware dollars, blah, 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 blah. Lego Star... Xbox Series has generated the highest hardware dollars of any platform year to date, followed by PlayStation 5 and Nintendo Switch. That doesn't make sense.
This has been a really good month for the series.
Yes, yeah, it really has.
I'm going to
yeah.
adopt that right now. The series. The
Good,
series.
I like that. I kind of like that. Anyways,
You're welcome. Phil.
what? Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga was the best-selling game of April 2022, while also debuting as the second best-selling game of 2022 year to date. It is the best-selling game of the month across Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam platforms. Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga achieved the highest launch month dollar sales for any Lego title in history, and after 1 month ranks among the top 6 best-selling Lego games life to date. Skywalker Saga is the first third-party game to rank as the best-selling title on Nintendo platforms since March of 2021 with Monster Hunter Rise.
That's really interesting.
Very interesting. Elden Ring was the second best-selling title of April 2022. Elden Ring remains the best-selling game of 2022 year to date and has surpassed Call of Duty Vanguard to become the best-selling premium game of the trailing 12-month period ending April 2022.
Strauss. Andrew. What does that tell you?
More games set in a very
No single player games.
means all of our games need to be Souls-like. No, that's not what it means, God damn it. But anyway.
No single player games. No cowboy games. That's what gamers want.
I don't know why, but Strauss Zelnick in my head, when I picture him talking, I feel like he probably sounds like Tom Cruise. You know? like kind of creepy, you know? But like, you ever heard, not like bow, 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 and he's like, let me tell you, like that video, that famous Tom Cruise Scientology video. Yeah, not that Tom Cruise, but like the subtler weird Tom Cruise. I just wanted to dunk on Strauss Zelnick. Are you done with MPDs?
No,
right,
you
please continue.
interrupted me.
I'm sorry.
April 2022 spending on video game accessories declined 10% when compared to a year ago, 151 million. Year-to-date video game accessories spending has fallen 15% to 743 mil. The PS4 DualShock wireless controller was April's best-selling accessory. The Series Elite 2 wireless controller remains best-selling accessory of 2022 year-to-date. That is all for the NPDs this month.
Okay. Follow
All
us
you had
on
to do
Twitter.
was wait 5 seconds before you could.
I'm sorry. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at the Gaming Discourse. Go to our YouTube channel, YouTube/Gaming Discourse, Patreon.com/Gaming Discourse. Go check out our interview with Mark Dara. Go watch the Iron Lung review.
Got the
And
black
we
lung
will see you next week.
Bye.